All right, today we're reviewing this. This is the Solar Guitars AC1.7VC+. I'm going to share my experiences with this guitar so far, show you how it sounds both in little mini songs and also in isolation, and I'll let you know overall if I can recommend this guitar. And by the way, this video isn't sponsored, this is my guitar, I bought it. So let's jump right in and let's start with the quality of this guitar. Now the quality, it feels decently good. It feels like a solid, well put together guitar. There's no separation between the neck and the neck pocket. Everything is in place. And in the few weeks I've had this guitar, nothing has fallen apart. Of course, I did have to tighten the washer things at the tuners. I feel like that's pretty standard to check those though when you get a guitar. But as a whole, things feel pretty well put together. Plucking a note acoustically, it sounds pretty resonant. Not that that's the highest priority for an electric guitar, but it is a good sign. And it does definitely put me in a good mood when I pick up this guitar, plink around a little bit before plugging it in. It's a good time. Now, the stainless steel frets and the fretwork, they feel pretty good. There's no sharp edges on any of the frets. I haven't been able to find any high frets. And I'm personally a fan of stainless steel frets. If a guitar doesn't have them, it's not a deal breaker for me. It's not the end of the world. I do like the smooth feel, and the durability does give me some peace of mind. I know there are stainless steel fret haters out there, and if this isn't the type of fret wire for you, that's okay. These are tools to make music, and it's important to find what works well for you. Now, one big complaint about this guitar was it came to me with a burr on the high E tuner. In restringing and setting up this guitar, it ate through 2 high E strings. The first time the high E string snapped, I thought it was just a fluke. But the second time I knew something was up, so I got a little file and I just went around the edges of the hole where the string goes in. And after that, I haven't had any issues. I'm not a huge expert on the QC process and the checks when it comes to looking over a guitar before shipping it out, so I can't say for sure who is to blame for this. It was pretty disappointing though and frustrating. It delayed this video because I needed to go out and get some files. I don't know where my other files went. And I think that's important to highlight too, because you probably don't have all the time in the world to sit around messing with your guitar. You might have a day job, other responsibilities, children, pets, errands, other things you have to do in life. You might only have 20 or 30 minutes a day to play guitar. And if that's taken up by debugging a guitar, that's going to be a huge bummer. So while now everything is okay now that I've fixed it, in the spirit of honesty and giving you a bunch of information you can find useful, this was something that delayed my enjoyment of this guitar. Now moving on to the other end of the strings, the bridge, the Evertune bridge. The Evertune bridge does work. It's not magic, it's a mechanical system. As such, you do have to check the tuning periodically, but the time it takes to have to retune this guitar is much, much longer than other bridge systems. I was able to play all the music for this video after tuning only once. And when I say tuning, I mean you use the Evertune tool and you tune up at the bridge down here. You control the tension of the strings with the tuning heads up here. And if you want to keep it in the bend zone, so you want to bottom it out so you can still do string bends, you can do that, and you have to periodically tune up here at the tuners to do that. I do find these Evertune bridges kind of unwind over time. Although that being said, of course, that seems to be just a characteristic of the bridge. Once you expect it, it isn't unpleasant to do at all, and you still do it less than if you were tuning it up on a fixed bridge. I also found that setting up the bridge has been in line with my other experiences setting up Evertunes. It's one tool to do the tuning, the string height, the intonation, and it works pretty well. The only thing is when I was restringing it, the saddles can get stuck. That seems to be another thing with the Evertune. And how you fix that is you just loosen the string until it bottoms out the other way. And then once you tune back up to tension, and that's the tension where you had tuned it up to up here, the saddle should be unstuck. Again, this isn't unique to this particular Evertune. That's just how Evertunes work in general. That seems to be a common thing I find. And the Evertune, I think, is a great choice for this guitar, it being a 7-string and extended range guitar. You can really wail on the 7th string, and you won't get any pitch drift because the Evertune will hold it in place. Now moving on to controls, no issues. The switches and the wiring, it's all fine. I haven't experienced any buzzing with this, which is really nice. I do have to say though, the volume potentiometer, it's a push-pull, which is cool, but the friction to it is pretty low. It's really easy to turn. and I kind of dislike that. I don't want to be accidentally turning down the volume on my guitar. It's only happened a few times where I've checked it and it was turned down a little. Over time, this is going to be a little annoying. And I've noticed in general, the Solar push-pulls tend to be low friction or something. It's been pretty easy to turn them, so that's a miss in my book. If you like the super easy kind of low friction turn, that's fine. I do turn the volume off between takes when recording or between playing things. So maybe that's what they had in mind when they picked a potentiometer like this. Everything else, quality-wise, on this guitar seems pretty solid. The strap buttons are nice and tight. They're not loose at all. The nut seems to have been cut correctly, and the fretboard doesn't feel like it has any sharp edges too. Let's move on to talking about the playability of this guitar. I'm pretty pleased with how this guitar plays. I did let it acclimate to the temperature here, the humidity and all that. I restrung it, I conditioned the fretboard, I set it up, and it plays great. You can get reasonably low action on it, and that's what I prefer. Ideally, I have my action around 1 millimeter at the 14th fret on the high E string, and with this you can just about get it there. And then the Satin neck, it's pretty great. It doesn't get in your way, although when you're playing up higher, this is where it starts to get thicker before it meets the body. So if you like playing up to the 24th fret and you want the thinnest neck possible, maybe it's not so great, but it's also not the end of the world too. It's not unplayable. The controls don't get in the way. You're not going to be hitting the switch or the volume pot or anything. The toggle switch itself, it's almost like a blade switch. I know it's a toggle, it's not a blade, but it's big enough that it kind of feels like it, so that's good. The Evertune bridge, it's fine for palm muting. I never have my palm hitting the back thing right here, and especially with the carved body, the outside perimeter doesn't get in the way. I did have to play around with the strap height a bit. I'm used to more RG shaped guitars when it comes to super strats, and this doesn't have that forearm carve that I'm used to. So I had to mess around with my strap height in order to get around this lip. I tried really high, I tried really low. Ultimately, I ended up on something that was just a little higher than what I usually have. And it does help if you don't push down on this corner of the body with your picking forearm. Just kind of relax. Maybe that's good form in general. And I do have to say also, it doesn't feel quite as bad as if it was just like a block Telecaster, like uncarved, uncontoured. Moving on from the body to the neck, you can see it has the satin finish on the neck, whereas the rest of the body is gloss, and this is really nice. Feels great against the thumb. It feels very smooth and quick going up and down the neck. And you do notice it becomes glossy again down here, and I find that's a good stop when you're getting to the 24th fret. Your thumb gets to that gloss part, so you know to stop. And that's good because the fret axis is so great. You've got these big scoop-aways. It is pretty easy to go beyond the fretboard. Now, also talking about the neck, the scale length, we have a 26.5-inch scale length. And how does that feel? What are my thoughts on that? The scale length is often cited as a good compromise between something longer and more baritone and the standard 25.5-inch. And it's fine. I tuned down a whole step, so I'm in A standard. And it's nice knowing I could get away with something lower, like drop G. I do think I could have a 25.5-inch scale length and be a whole step down, especially because I have the Evertune. I don't think I fully need a 26.5-inch scale length. And this is for my uses, again, being an A. And I say that because my V1.7 is an A standard and it has a 25.5-inch scale length. And I think part of what makes that okay is that it has the Evertune. So it's holding the strings in tune, it has a good intonation, and the pitch drift doesn't exist because of that Evertune. If this was any other kind of bridge system, so not an Evertune, I would definitely want at the very least this scale length of 26.5 inches. Now let's talk about the neck profile on this. I have noticed with each of my Solar 7s, the neck profile is just a little different. The general thickness is about the same, but the profile, like how much shoulder it has, is different. And this one has the most shoulder. This one feels the most oval. So in that respect, I wish it was like my A1.7 here. I really like the neck profile on this one. However, as I mentioned in the quality section, there's nothing wrong with the wiring. There's no buzzing or anything here. So in that sense, this guitar is better than the A1.7. Moving on from the neck to the body, the weight is less than the A1.7. And I think this does affect playability because if a guitar is really heavy, it weighs down on you. You'll get tired. Maybe you'll start making some more mistakes. If a guitar is too light, you'll be busy trying to keep the neck up. That will also interfere with your playing. And so this is a great weight to just pick up and play. It is just a little bit neck heavy. I don't typically use like a leather strap or anything, so that would solve it. But it's not neck heavy enough that it interferes with your playing. When you're standing and playing with your arm on it with the strap, you don't notice it whatsoever. It's not neck heavy enough to notice when you're playing. Overall, this instrument as a whole, you can pick it up and play it, not notice any of those issues, have a good time, and get done what you need to get done. It's not going to get in the way of your playing. Moving on to sound. This has sounded great for everything I've used it for so far. I haven't had to change my presets at all. I just plugged it in, loaded up what I usually run with, and it just worked. It doesn't sound too thin, it doesn't sound too thick, it fits in the mixes without being weak. A major contributing factor to this are the Solar Duncan Plus pickups. These are billed as having more compared to the standard Solar Duncans, and I have had good success with the standard Solar Duncans in the past. I used my A1.6 with the standard Solar Duncans on my Dark World cover, and those sounded great. It really was the right choice since that has a lot of guitars layered. And then my A1.7 has the standard Solar Duncans too. I used that guitar in my Upper Brinstar cover and that sounded just fine. I think though if I were going to go back and do it again, I would rather use this guitar with these pickups. These just have that extra kick, that extra push, while not being too much. A lot of the time too when I'm doing songs that aren't for a video where I'm talking about just one guitar, I will change which guitar I'm using for what part I'm playing. And while a 25.5-inch scale length 6-string guitar will be my go-to for leads, I could see myself using this guitar for both rhythm and cleans. And leads on this aren't too bad too. So now here's what this sounds like in isolation with my favorite presets. I've got a clean tone, a rhythm tone, and a lead tone. Some overall thoughts. And now first, is this guitar worth it? That's a more difficult question to answer than I first thought it would be. I was pretty disappointed at first having to deal with the Burr on the tuner. It would have been great if they had checked that just a little more carefully. But in answering this question, I do have to weigh the good with the bad. The bad, of course, being you do need some basic guitar debugging skills, whether it's dealing with the tuner, whether it's knowing how to set up the Evertune bridge. But there's also the good. The guitar isn't too heavy, it plays really well, and it sounds fantastic. It has the specs that fit its niche really well. Ultimately, if you're looking for a 7-string guitar and you're a fan of solo guitars, this is a good guitar to get. How does this guitar compare to my other 7 strings? And I do prefer 7 strings from solo guitars the most, so I might be biased there. And in terms of subjective things, I do think this one looks the coolest. The body, though, having this carved shape makes it not my first choice. It's not the most uncomfortable design. I can play it just fine. Obviously, it's not a deal breaker for me. And then the neck profile, it is a bit more oval than my other 7s from Solar, so that also makes it not my first choice. But the thing is, the weight is a huge factor here. This is my lightest 7-string guitar from from Solar that isn't the Flying V, because Flying V bodies have their own advantages and disadvantages. It's not necessarily a light guitar, but it is lighter and more manageable compared to my A1.7 here. And then compared to my T1.7, it's not even close. This thing weighs 20 billion tons. It sounds really awesome, especially with these Fishman pickups, but man, is this thing heavy. So this is a great weight to just pick up and play. I can play it without having to worry about it weighing down on me. It does sound the best out of all my passive pickup 7-string guitars. Active pickups are their own thing. Maybe you prefer passives over actives more, maybe vice versa. But also just because the neck profile isn't my favorite of the 7 strings I have, it doesn't mean I dislike it. The neck is still plenty playable. And just because this carved shape, it isn't my favorite body shape, it doesn't mean it's an awful body shape. It's still plenty usable. So then when would I pick this over, say, the A1.7? I would be more okay with putting Playware on the A1.7. It has that matte black color. I don't mind if it gets the shiny spots from contact. I don't mind if the solid color paint gets any chips or dings in it. With this guitar though, the finish is one of the selling points, I feel like. It does change color between blue and purple depending on how you hold it. So losing that, it would be a bit more devastating. It's folly to think that if you play and use a guitar a bunch, it will be untouched. Playware happens, things happen, but all the same. I'd use this guitar while recording for videos, but if I was going somewhere like a band practice or a show or something, I'd pick the A1.7 just because I'm more okay with that getting Playware and life damage on it. Another question, would I rather use this 7-string guitar or just have one 8-string to handle all my 7-string needs? And that's a valid question because I did use this guitar here, an 8-string, in my Flame Stag cover, and the rhythm part for that was written for 7-string. And I did that just because I liked the sound of this guitar at the time. But sitting down and recording and trying to get things perfect, that's one thing. But for playing for a stream or in a practice or at a show, I would want to reduce the number of strings I'd have to use as much as possible. If I'm not going to be using that 8th string, I don't want it on the guitar. Just less things to go wrong, less things to look at when you get lost and panic and look down. And in this particular case too, this not having a multi-scale is my personal preference. Overall, I think this guitar sounds great, it plays great, it looks cool. I had to do some debugging at first, had to fix the burr on the tuner, but after that, once I set it up, this is a fantastic guitar. But what do you think? Are the Solar ACs your cup of tea? Would this be a 7-string you'd want to pick up and play? Or would you prefer a different guitar from maybe a different brand? Comment down below what you think. Of course, this is YouTube, so I have to say the YouTube things. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, print out every frame and mail it. Join the Discord, check the socials. If you're looking for something cool to listen to, I'm on all major streaming services, Hazy Productions. I do original songs and video game music covers. And as always, peace.